Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to our PETRONAS translation discussion session. Today, we'll be taking a close look at our translation of the significant accounting policies section, comparing it with the original English version, discussing the challenges we face, and reflecting on the strategies we use to produce an accurate and readable translation. This session is designed to be interactive, so I encourage everyone to share your thoughts, ask questions, or give feedback as we go along. Our aim is not just to show what we translated, but also to explore the decision we made and understand why certain choices were necessary for accuracy, clarity, and professionalism. Before we begin, let me briefly recap everyone's role in this collaborative project. Faritohana, our translator, responsible for translating assigned sections of the PETRONAS report. You focus on rendering the technical accounting language into precise and clear Malay while maintaining the meaning. For Azrul, our language analyst who reviewed grammar, vocabulary, and semantic accuracy to ensure the translation flows naturally while remaining faithful to the original text. As for Sayang and Sohana, our terminology researchers, responsible for creating a glossary of at least 10 key financial and business terms, making sure technical terms were consistent across the translation. So, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Faris. I'm one of the translators. I was responsible for translating the first part of Petronas report, which covers the basis of consolidation and business combination. My main task was to ensure that the technical accounting language in English was accurately rendered into Malay. And one of the challenges I faced was dealing with long, complex sentences filled with technical terms, such as the identifiable assets, acquired and acquired and liabilities assumed are measured at their fair values at the acquisition date. I had to balance technical accuracy with readability for Malay readers while making sure the meaning was preserved. I also worked closely with Azrul and our terminology researchers to make sure terms like acquirer, non-controlling interest, and fair value were consistent throughout the translation. This collaborative effort helped prevent confusion and ensure all sections were aligned.
Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum. My name is Sohana Suleha, and I had a dual role in this project. So as a translator, I worked on the section discussing goodwill and bargain purchase gains. Translating these concepts was tricky because I needed to convey highly technical accounting terms accurately while keeping the sentences understandable in Malay. So in my role as a terminology researcher, I helped create a glossary of key financial and business terms. I also made sure these terms were applied consistently across both my own translations and Faris's sections. For example, confirming that acquisition method was always translated as kaidah pemerolehan, or that bargain purchase gain was consistently rendered as keuntungan pembelian murah. My goal here was to maintain a balance between technical accuracy and readability, so that even readers familiar with accounting jargon could understand the translation clearly.
Okay, Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Muhammad Azrul, the language analyst for this session. And my role was to review the translation for grammar, vocabulary, and sentence structure. I mainly focus on ensuring that the Malay version flows naturally while remaining faithful to the original English text. And one of the things I did was to suggest adjustment for long or complex sentence. In English, it's common to have lengthy clauses that, if translated directly, might feel cumbersome in Malay. And for example, I suggested splitting some sentences or reordering phrases to improve the clarity while keeping the technical meaning intact. And as mentioned, I also work closely with Faris and Sohana to make sure that the technical problems fitted naturally within the sentence structure, so that the translation was both accurate and readable.
Hello and Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Sayang, a terminology researcher. My focus was on creating and verifying a glossary of key financial and business terms from the report. This was important to maintain consistency for terms like acquirer as pihak pemeroleh, fair value as nilai saksama, and goodwill as muhibah. I also supported both translators by cross-checking their draft to make sure the translated terms align with accounting standards, especially under the MFRS framework. Working together allowed us to avoid inconsistencies and make the translation look professional, precise, and coherent. Also, the glossary helped during our discussion and peer review, making it easier to resolve disagreements about word choice or technical terms collaboratively.
Thank you everyone for your introductions. I'm Zahid Zafri, and I will be moderating today's discussion. My role is to guide our discussion today and make sure everyone has a chance to contribute their insights and help summarize our findings into a cohesive understanding of the translation process. I also monitored how the team collaborated to produce a unified and accurate translation of the PETRONAS report. As a moderator, I make sure our discussion is structured but also interactive, so everyone can share their experiences, challenges, and decisions made during translation. I also coordinate the flow between translation, terminology, and language analysis, making sure our session covers all key aspects of the work. Now, we have a clear picture of who contributed to each part of the project and what each role involves. With that understanding, we can move on to the first part of our discussion, the translation itself, the challenges encountered, and the strategies applied. Arias, will you walk us through the section you translated? Please share not only what you translated, but also the challenges to address them. Once Arias starts, I encourage everyone else to jump in with thoughts, clarification, or questions to make this session truly interactive. All right, let us start with the translation process itself. We will focus on the challenges our translators face and how we solve them. Arias, let you start by walking us through your section.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, our moderator Zahid. Well, for me, I translated the first page covering the basis of consolidation and business combination. One of the main challenges was handling long technical sentences. For example, the sentence, the identifiable assets acquired and liabilities assumed are measured at their fair values at the acquisition date. While in Malay, I translated it as aset boleh kena pasti yang diperoleh dan liability yang ditanggung diikut pada nilai saksama pada tarikh pemerolehan. The tricky part here was balancing their technical accuracy with readability. If I translated it to literally, the sentence would sound pretty heavy and difficult for Malay readers to follow. So, no, simplifying it too much will risk losing the precise accounting meaning.
Well, my section focused on goodwill and bargain purchase gains. For instance, the sentence, the group measures goodwill as the excess of the cost of an acquisition. I translated into Malay as kumpulan mengukur muhibah sebagai lebihan kos pemerolehan. The challenge here was choosing words that kept the accounting accuracy while making it understandable in Malay. Some terms like excess or bargain purchase gain don't have exact everyday Malay equivalents, so we had to carefully select words that convey the correct financial concept.
I work alongside both Faris and Sorhana, mainly focusing on terminology consistency. For example, we agreed on pihak pemeroleh for acquirer and nilai saksama for fair value. These decisions ensured that readers would encounter consistent terms throughout the document, which is crucial in financial translation. We also create a mini glossary to track these choices, which help when reviewing the translation later.
And from a language perspective, I noticed the difference in sentence structure between English and Malay. English tends to use longer, complex sentences with multiple clauses, whereas Malay readers often find shorter and clear sentences, which is easier to follow. So I suggested breaking some of the long sentences into 2 or 3 parts while making sure that none of the technical meanings were lost. Minor reordering of phrases also help improve clarity.
That's a good point, Azrul. Faris, do you think splitting sentences in your section affected the technical meaning at all?
Well, slightly, but we were very careful to keep all the technical terms intact. So while the sentences became shorter for readability, the core meaning and accounting details were fully preserved.
Yeah, and I would also like to add that breaking down the sentences also help readers follow complex concepts, like how non-controlling interests are measured. Without splitting, a single sentence could overwhelm the reader, especially when it contains multiple financial terms.
I agree. And consistency in terminology made this even smoother because readers saw the same term used repeatedly. It reinforced understanding even when sentences were split or restructured.
Exactly. I also noticed that our small changes in sentence structure indirectly improve flow and the comprehension without compromising the formal tone of the report. It's actually a very delicate balance, but I think the collaborative review process really helped us to get it right.
Great discussion, everyone. It is clear that teamwork between translators, terminology researchers, and language analysts was essential to overcome these challenges. Let us keep these points in mind as we move on to technical terminology in the next session. Okay, now let's move on to language analyst. Azrul, as our language analyst, could you start by sharing the main observations and adjustments you made?
Sure, Zain. And my focus was primarily on grammar, vocabulary, and the semantic accuracy. And one key challenge was dealing with long English clauses that don't directly match the Malay sentence structure. For example, the English sentence, non-controlling interests are stated either at fair value or at the proportionate share of the acquiree's identifiable net asset at the acquisition date. I suggested it be translated into Malay as kepentingan bukan kawalan dinyatakan sama ada pada nilai saksama atau bahagian seimbang yang sempadan daripada aset bersih pihak diperoleh yang boleh dikenal pasti pada tarikh pemerolehan. And this preserve meanings while keeping the sentence grammatically smooth for Malay readers.
I completely agree with Azrul. Your suggestions helped me see where my initial translation could sound awkward or overly literal. Adjustment like yours make the text easier to read without losing the technical accounting meaning.
Additionally, some of the complex sentences required reordering to fit Malay syntax naturally. So, for instance, clauses with multiple conditions or qualifiers had to be moved around so that the main idea came first. This makes long accounting sentences less confusing for readers while preserving all technical information.
I work alongside Faris and Sorhana by reviewing the terminology. While Azrul corrected grammar and syntax, I focus on technical terms that might confuse readers, like bargain purchase gain or goodwill. I made sure each Malay term accurately reflected the English meaning and was consistent throughout the document.
And exactly, another point is that some term, if left too literal, could actually mislead the readers. For instance, translating acquirer inconsistently could confuse the role of the companies involved in the business combination. And peer discussion helped ensure that we chose terms that made sense both technically and grammatically.
That's a good point, Azrul. So, would you say having multiple perspectives, translator, terminology researcher, and language analyst help catch these issues?
Um, well, absolutely, because working together, I noticed that subtle differences I might have missed if I work alone. For example, the placements of modifier or verbs in Malay can change the nuance slightly. And Azrul's suggestion fixed that.
And with the terminology input from Sayang, we prevent potential ambiguity. For example, we double-check terms like muhibah for goodwill and pembelian murah for bargain purchase gain, which could otherwise be misinterpreted.
Exactly. I also highlighted areas where a literal translation might be grammatically correct, but the semantically is off. This collaborative approach ensured both technical and linguistic accuracy.
Great. So, in this session, peer collaboration allowed us to refine grammar, sentence structure, and technical terminology simultaneously. It shows how interconnected translation, language, accuracy, and terminology are in producing a precise and readable Malay version. Excellent work, everyone. Now we will move on to terminology discussion. Sayang, as one of our terminology researchers, could you start by sharing the key terms and any challenges you encountered?
Sure, Zahin. We create a glossary of key financial terms to ensure consistency across the translation. Some of the main terms we agreed on are business combination as penggabungan perniagaan, acquirer as pihak pemeroleh, non-controlling interest as kepentingan bukan kawalan, acquisition method as kaedah pemerolehan, goodwill as muhibah, fair value as nilai saksama, and bargain purchase gain as keuntungan pembelian murah. One challenge was that some English terms don't have exact Malay equivalents. For example, bargain purchase gain is a very specific accounting term. Translating it literally might confuse readers, so we need to find a term that preserves technical meaning while being understandable in Malay.
Yes, and to address this, we double-checked all terms again. The MFRS framework and previous PETRONAS reports. For example, acquisition date was consistently translated as Tarikh Pemerolehan across all of the sections. This ensures accuracy and helps avoid the discrepancies in different parts of the translation.
Well, thanks to Sohana and Sayang, this glossary helped me while translating complex sentences. When I encountered long technical clauses, I could refer to the glossary to maintain consistent terminology. And this also reduces the chance of using different words for the same concept, which could confuse the readers.
Yes, and the consistent terminology not only ensures technical accuracy but also improve readability. Because when readers see the same terms repeatedly, it feels professional and credible. And it also helps when sentences are sometimes complex and consistent terms stand out clearly and prevent any misinterpretation.
And we also realized that shorter sentences help these technical terms stand out. If terms are buried in long descriptive clauses, readers might miss the exact meaning. So, sentence structure and terminology work hand in hand.
To add more, another point is that some terms require slight adaptation to fit Malay syntax. For instance, non-controlling interests had to be positioned in a way that reads naturally in Malay sentences without altering the technical meaning.
And in cases like goodwill, we discuss how to translate it as muhibah without losing the accounting nuance. The peer discussion allows us to agree on a single term that fits both accuracy and readability.
That's great. So terminology decisions were collective and involved checking against standards, sentence structure, and context. Do you all feel this step improved the overall clarity and consistency of the translation?
Absolutely.
Well, yes, it actually made the text technically precise and easier to follow.
Oh, and it also gave translators confidence in using terms consistently.
Oh, and it also minimized the ambiguity, which is very crucial in financial reporting.
Excellent. This shows how crucial terminology is, especially in specialized financial texts. Clear, consistent, and accurate terms help maintain both professionalism and readability. Great work, team. Now, let's move on to how we make collaborative decisions and learn from each other. Farid, could you start by sharing some key translation strategies you applied and any challenges you faced?
Sure, Zaid. So one of the main decisions I made to split long English sentences into shorter Malay sentences. For example, in the original report, there was a long sentences describing how the group measures goodwill and account for non-controlling interest. I split it into 2 or 3 sentences in Malay to improve readability. During peer discussions, Sohana and Azul confirmed that this approach maintained the technical meaning while making it easier to follow.
Yes, and in addition, we debated the best Malay equivalents for good-related terms. For instance, translating bargain purchase gain required careful consideration to ensure both accuracy and clarity. Peer suggestions were very helpful here. Sayang and Azrul pointed out nuances that I might have missed, which led to a final agreed upon translation that aligns with the MFRS standards.
I also reviewed all technical terms and cross-checked them with the MFRS framework. During discussion, we realized that some terms could have multiple translations, but by collaborating, we agreed on the most precise one. Translators could then consistently use these terms throughout the Malay text. This prevented any inconsistencies or misinterpretation.
And for me, given that my role was to ensure the grammar, vocabulary and sentence flow complemented the technical accuracy, I suggested I suggested reordering certain clauses to make them smoother in Malay without changing the actual meaning. For example, passive construction in English often needed active structures in Malay for clarity. And we've also discussed these changes together to balance the technical fidelity and with readability.
And another collaborative decision involved minor adjustment for stylistic consistency. For example, maintaining the same level of formality across all sections, especially in financial terminology, ensure the text felt professional and unified.
Yes, and not to mention, we also considered the cultural readability. Certain terms and expressions that work in English needed small adaptations in Malay, so they would make sense to the intended audience while preserving technical meaning.
Having both the translators and the analysts discussed terminology and sentence structure together was the key. It meant that decisions were validated from multiple perspectives: technical accuracy, readability, and terminological consistency.
Exactly. The peer discussion also allowed us to catch subtle errors or awkward phrasing that one person might overlook. Everyone's input was actually important to produce a polished final version.
Okay. So, in summary, this session shows how collaborative translation works in practice. Every role, translator, language analyst, terminology researcher, contributed to producing a unified, accurate, and clear Malay version of the Petronas report. Peer input wasn't just helpful, it was essential for resolving challenges and ensuring the final text meet both professional and technical standards.
Yes, working together made the process smoother, and the final translation is stronger because of we have many and multiple perspectives.
And it also highlighted the importance of communication. So discussing strategies in real time helped us make decisions more confidently.
I agree. Collaboration ensured that no detail, especially technical terminology, was overlooked.
And it also reinforced the importance of balancing the clarity, accuracy in specialized text.
Okay, excellent points, everyone. This discussion really reflects the value of collaborative learning and translation, combining expertise, checking each other's work, and making decisions as a team. All right, everyone, we have reached the conclusion of our discussion. Let us reflect on what we have learned through this collaborative translation exercise. First, our translators, Arin and Sahana, worked through complex sentences and technical accounting terms, ensuring the meaning was preserved while making the Malay version readable. Azrul, as our language analyst, focused on grammar, vocabulary, and semantic accuracy, which helps the sentences flow naturally without losing technical precision. And as for Sayang and Sahana, our terminology researchers, created a consistent glossary of key financial terms to ensure that all technical expressions match the MFRS framework and were applied consistently throughout the translation. Through peer collaboration, we could discuss alternatives, debate the best phrasing, and make collective decisions. This process helped us produce a unified, accurate, and a professional Malay version of the PETRONAS section. And now, I would like each of you to briefly share one takeaway from this session. Okay, so we may start with Paris.
So for my key takeaway is that Splitting long sentences carefully can improve readability without losing technical meaning, and peer input is invaluable in spotting subtle issues.
Well, I learned that integrating cultural context and terminology ensures clarity for readers who may not be that familiar with Malaysian accounting terms.
My takeaway is having a glossary early makes translation more consistent and saves time in revising technical terms later.
And for me, I realized that even small grammar or syntax adjustment can actually significantly improve comprehension while maintaining the professional tone of the text.
Okay, excellent reflections, everyone. Okay, to sum up this whole collaborative process, this not only improve the quality of our translation, but thus enhance our teamwork, our critical thinking, and the understanding of technical financial language. So I'd like to thank you all for being active and participating in this discussion. And this concludes our session for today. Do any of you would like to add up?
No, I will just say thank you for tonight.
If that's the case, then I'll be ending this discussion today. Thank you, everyone.
You
Okay, thank you.